Welcome to Rooted and Rising. This is a place where pain meets promise, where the storm tried to break us, but we found roots deeper than fear. Every scar, every setback became the soil for our growth. Out the storm, out the fire, and we made it through the trial. Welcome to Rooted and Rising.
What's going on, family, and welcome back to Rooted and Rising podcast. It's your host, Tim, and today's episode, this one hits different. This episode is going to be real, raw, and very personal. We're talking about the seasons of a man's life, the ones we admit and the ones we avoid. We're going to talk about survival, struggle, growth, responsibility, and that unfinished healing most men carry around like weight in our pocket. And today, I'm not doing this one alone. I got my little brother here with me, my blood, my day one, JoJo.
What's up, bro? Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Glad you're here. And before we dive in, I want to kick things off with a quote. A man becomes a man the day he stops running from himself. And that's the heart of this episode. Not just the seasons we go through, but the truth we avoid, the pain we pack away, and the healing we keep putting off. So let's get into it. Bro, I want you to introduce yourself to the listeners. Tell them who you are. Tell them what this conversation means to you, man.
Yeah, well, I'm Quentin, JoJo. I'm a brother. I'm a father. Navy vet. Law enforcement vet. Work for an important agency. Very busy. And this is a very important conversation. I mean, I've been my own journey, my own struggles, of course, like anybody else with life. But I would say right now I'm in my healing journey. And we'll probably dive into that a little bit later.
Word. And that's one of the many reasons why I wanted you here today. Is because you've seen a lot of my seasons, and like you just said, you walked through your own. And when we as brothers talk, like really talk, I feel like we get to the truth quicker than anyone else.
Sure.
So let's start here, right? Life doesn't move in a straight line. We move through seasons, chasing, surviving, rebuilding, and then healing. But I think most men get stuck in one season, without even really realizing that they're stuck. And growing up, nobody taught us that. We just thought being a man, grinding, providing, pushing through, and not folding. So, what season do you feel like most men get stuck in, and why do you think we don't recognize it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think most men get stuck in surviving. I mean, a lot of us have that tunnel vision, like you said, like you're just on the grind, you want to provide, right? You're doing your 9 to 5, you have all this going on, but you get tunnel vision on that, trying to just provide and working hard. You kind of like neglect other things because you're just so uh, into that grind, not realizing that you're not prioritizing yourself or certain things that like your family are more important than just making a buck. And we get stuck like that because society says that like that's what we're providers. Nobody's gonna
Yeah.
nobody's gonna check in on you. How was your day? And pat you on the back and say you're good, doing a good job. So we kind of forget about ourselves. And so it's kind of hard to step away and kind of like prioritize other things.
I would agree with you on that, and I would also say, for me, I think the other season that we as men tend to get stuck in is the chasing season, because it's like we're chasing like a false sense of success or a false sense of purpose, which kind of then leads into the survival season. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think like the chasing season is like, because of some of these societal standards that we have, or maybe stereotypes of what a man is supposed to be and or do. Like, even though I feel like some of those standards or the ideology, I like the idea of how a man is supposed to provide for the family now is kind of changed. So that season of chasing has also changed. So now, like, it's kind of hard to find your niche, I think, of like chasing that sense of purpose or that need to be the sole provider.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah. I would say
And
also
you get,
chasing, like trying to like really define what is success. And some of us get stuck in like that own very trying to define what does success mean to me, but looking at outside what they think is success and try to chase that and then finding that they're not being fulfilled or they're chasing the wrong things.
yeah, because also too, like, part of the success and you're chasing your sense of purpose, right? Could also be the chasing your partner. You can get stuck in that, and you can be going from one relationship to the next relationship because you're chasing some idea of what true love is, or what that idea of a happy home looks like. Maybe because you never had one growing up, or depending on how you grew up, whether it was you had a single parent household or whatever. So a lot of times you get stuck in that chasing season because you're out there chasing love, and you have no idea what it looks like.
Yeah. You make a valid point of like, you know, of trying to have this idea, right? Like chasing an idea of like, this is an idea in my head, and that's what I want. So it's like we're our toughest critics. So if we are not kind to ourselves and don't really realistically define these things, then we're going to constantly be chasing, because nothing's ever going to be good enough. And I think a lot of men don't stop and look at their achievements or how they are providing, or the good that they're doing, and say like I'm doing good. Um,
Yeah,
I think a lot of men could benefit from having a little grace for themselves to kind of get out of that chasing, and really pursue things that matter and that will be attainable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree. And then I would say like the hardest part is admitting the season that we're actually in, and not the one we front for on like social media or the one that we tell our family, but the one that we actually feel. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I would like to talk on, like, touch back on the when you said survival, right?
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. I feel like that is where most men live, and to me, survival looks like holding everything together, showing up even when we're tired, avoiding our own needs, and like staying in that mission mindset of I have to accomplish this goal, you know. And I would say, in my opinion, that's that mission mindset or that mission mode is what the military trained us for. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it became our identity while we were serving. And I would say, you know, like I've seen you in some survival seasons, and you definitely seen me in some of mine. But tell me what survival looks like in your life and why it's so hard for us to ship it out.
Yeah. So, a particular time that comes to mind for me is when I had like a drastic career change in my civilian career, um, going from law enforcement to a civilian capacity, um, and adjusting there. During that time period, there's like, I kind of slipped into this bringing stress, not, a lot of stress home, and bringing stress into the workplace. And it's, my work-life balance was a little out of whack. And like you said, you just kind of, buckle down, right? Like I'm the provider of my family, no complaining, just gotta suck it up and keep pressing forward. And then it got to a point where, like I was like tunnel vision, where I didn't know, like everything was the same day, like Groundhog's Day, just, feeling like shit going to work, feeling like shit coming home, just things piling up. And it was hard to kind of like get out of that cycle because it was kind of like a blur where, um, it's hard to kind of like check in on yourself and be like, yo, this ain't working, or I need to change something up. Um,
Yeah,
it wasn't until like other people, kind of like say, hey, like you don't seem like yourself, or you're a little different, and for me to kind of like step back and like truly confront and be like, you know what, like I gotta make some moves and changes because I'm not showing up, you know, as the father, as the husband, that I want to be, all because of the stress. And I was being kind of like in my own head and being like, I can tough it out. I'm a warrior.
yeah.
I don't need help. I can just push through. Things will change. So yeah, it just took a moment for me to really uh, sit back and look and kind of like really get like listen to the feedback that I was getting from my close family to realize like, yeah, I am a different person right now.
I think your story, the story that you just shared with us, is like very relatable. Because I similar similar story when I was in the Navy. It was actually right before I got my cancer diagnosis. Maybe like a year before I got diagnosed with cancer. I was on the ship, and it was like I was burning a candle at two ends, so to speak. Like trying to be present uh, for Levi and Cole, because at the time I was only able to see them like every other weekend, but I was trying to do more because I felt like me seeing them every other weekend, because of the ship schedule and duty and all that, right? like it just wasn't enough. So then I was trying to find ways that I could see them more, even if it was like for an hour. You know what I mean? So it would be like I would volunteer to pick them up from school, or I would like, hey, I'll take the boys to dinner. You know, tell their mom I take them to dinner, or bring dinner over there, or whatever. And at the time, me and MJ, we were like fresh in our relationship, like date, right? So like trying to manage a new relationship, being a dad, the stress of being on a ship with a fucked up schedule, right? Trying to manage that co-parenting relationship and not like be disrespectful to the relationship or anything like that, right? It was like it was a lot, like personal stress, like personal life stress, and that work life stress. Everything was starting to fucking bleed into each other.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, it was like, all right, I'm gonna cut off the shit that's easy for me to cut off. So if I can only see the boys every other weekend, then that's what the fuck I'm gonna do. Even though that was the wrong thing to do, right? That's I chose to take the path of least resistance. So then it was like I'm gonna start doing all this extra shit, and I'm just gonna see the boys every other weekend. And then like because work was going shitty, then I would make up excuses, and I'd be like, "Oh, I got an appointment on this day, so I can leave the shit." Right? Oh, I gotta take my son's sick, and his mom can't get him. I can't go. I can't come into work today, or whatever. But then it was like me always having an excuse to not show up to work or leave work early. You know, then motherfuckers just started to talk shit, and they're like, "Oh, your work performance is not where it used to be at." So then that was pissing me off, kind of shit. So it was just I like had like a legit breakdown, and it was one of those where the boys pretty much told me like, "You suck right now because we don't see you enough. So can we get some more time?" And then MJ had to like sit me down and was like, "Yo, the life choices you're making right now to like get through whatever the fuck you're trying to get through, or it's not the smartest, right?" Because I was like showing up to work drunk, or I would leave work to go get drunk, right?
Yeah.
So, having like liquid lunch in the parking lot and shit, and then like one day I just didn't show up to work at all. Like I was like, I'm not doing it. And she came over to my apartment and like slapped me around a little bit, figuratively, right? And was like, "What the fuck is the problem? Get your head out of your ass. Like, you need to go get help." And not help in the sense of like, "Oh my god, you're drunk at 7 o'clock in the morning." It wasn't anything like that. It was just, I was in such a depressive state that like I didn't want to do shit. Like,
Yeah.
just laying on the couch, wrapped up in a blanket, and when she started, like, all she asked me was, "Are you okay?" And like I fucking broke down. And then he was like, "All right, we're gonna call military one sword. You know what I'm saying?"
Yeah.
And then I feel like that was the moment that I realized that, oh shit, I'm in survival mode, and I've been in survival mode for a while. You know what I mean? And then if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have been able to realize that I needed to grow to my healing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I like to tell people all the time that surviving is not healing. Survival is an instinct, and healing is intentional. And most men don't get taught how to be intentional within themselves. And um, you know, like we all have wounds, and some wounds don't bruise, and some don't bleed, but they do change how we react, how we love, how we parent, how we communicate, And sometimes silent wounds will show up as anger, numbness, distance, stress, shutting down, snapping, and feeling disconnected. And I'm about to get real with you for a second, dude. And what's one silent wound you realized you had later in life? And, it was something that you didn't even know was affecting you.
Yeah, this one is a big one, man. And may sound funny, but yeah, I mean, like, I've always, people who like outside looking in, or I get feedback from folks. They're always like, "Oh man, you're always so determined. You're always on point. Like you got like such a good work ethic, or you just tackle everything." Um, before I was like starting my healing journey, um, it's all good, but they didn't see like how like my drive of just like diving into work, putting all my energy into work, how that impacted like other relationships and things like that. And you know doing my therapy journey, I really found out that like I struggle with like self-worth and self-esteem, like just feeling like I'm never good enough at like any aspect of anything that I do in my life. But you look at all of my awards and accolades and all my accomplishments, I have a lot to show for, how great I am. However, I do struggle. Be getting better, but it's still something that I have to, intentionally, put the best foot forward every single day, give myself some grace. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I do. I just feel, have low self-esteem. Don't feel like I'm good enough, or I don't show up in a way. It's like this unrealistic expectation that I have. I set my, my own bar in my head.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ridiculous, standards that I set. And if I don't achieve those, then I equate that to being like a total failure.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know, because I too do the same thing, and it's like the other part of that, having the low self esteem, or like not feeling like you're good enough at anything that you do, right? Is is when somebody else talk like talks you up, right? And this is why I love Julius so much. Is because it's like every now and then he'll do what a best friend is supposed to, right? He's gonna he hypes me up, but it's like it's always on time when I'm like in one of those low moments of like, damn, I can't do shit right,
Yeah. Yeah.
Then he's like, bro, look, take a step back. You done did this. You survived this. You made it through this. And I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, you right. Appreciate that. Let me pat myself on the back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And let me get back to it. But it's like the other part, like then the other thing that like I'm still struggling with is like the compliments from like strangers, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like maybe strangers is not like, it's a loose term, but like people I'm not really associated with,
Yeah.
like that.
Like acquaintances,
And
or
it's like, yeah, like I'll meet somebody new, like out at a bar, and be like, oh hey, like I got a podcast. You should check my podcast out. I'll give them the info, and then I'll run into them like a couple weeks later, and then they'll be like, "Hey, bro, listen to your podcast. And that shit really like keep doing your thing." And I'm just like, I get so awkward.
yeah.
Yeah, but did you see the new preview for Stranger Things? You saw that? I don't know how to say like it. Just I don't know. It's weird. Like I can't say thank you, or I don't know. It's just weird. And but I will say I have gotten better, but I'm with you like that. That low self-esteem or feeling like whatever you do just isn't good enough. Like you know in your heart of heart that you're giving 100%, but that 100%, you like, I think I got another 85% somewhere, and it's like you're more willing to burn yourself out to prove to yourself that you're, you know, the shit compared to not feeling like a piece of shit.
Yeah. And I think that's like, kind of like your your ego, and it's like these expectations you set for yourself, and then it's that perfection. So it's hard for you to like connect with other people who recognize like your achievements, or this was good, because then you've already nitpicked everything, and it didn't meet this like perfect bar that you set. So it's kind of hard to like be receptive to that positive feedback
Yeah.
if it don't feel right, you know what I mean? And that's
Mm-hmm.
because we just got to be kinder to ourselves. um like that saying is like, you can't love anybody if you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't really receive positive feedback if you're not giving yourself positive feedback.
Yeah. And when I was going through my EMDR treatment, right? Um, that was one of the things that my therapist told me to do, right? Because that's one of the things we talked about was like it's awkward. Like I don't like talking good about myself, but I always feel like I could do better or be better or whatever. So I feel like, but sometimes I feel like that translates over to like how I talk to the boys and like the pressure I put on them or whatever. So she told me, like, even with family members or just like people you meet out and about, always start the conversation off with a compliment to them, right? Like, you meet somebody new, like, oh, I like your sweater, and then, you know, jump into the conversation from there, so they can like, oh, thank you, and then they'll give you one back. It's easier for you to receive a compliment if you're the person to give it, right? So I've been trying that, even when I talk to boys, and like, let's say like they somebody got invited to school, right? And then I led the conversation off with like, I'm proud of you for defending yourself, but and then we don't resort to violence. That's not how we solve shit, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, instead of going straight in like I would have, like, hey bro, you fucked up. Why you put your hands on people? That's not what we do. Blah blah blah. And then I'm not creating that safe place for him to talk, or he's gonna have the same feelings that I have. Damn, nothing I do is ever good enough, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like trying to break break that chain or break that cycle,
Mhm.
and so that's why I try to lead off with something positive or a compliment or something like that, and then go on what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and that's the thing with like, um, yeah, my kids have taught me is to be very intentional with my words, because they do hold weight. They do mean something when they're coming from a parent. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of what you said about the silent wound, you're exactly right. There are so many men who are out here dealing with the silent stuff, the wounds that we never get treated, and we have this pain that never gets named, because when you don't feel, you don't heal, and you don't feel,
Right.
and like I would say, you know, if I can get personal for a minute, for me it was when I guess I could say like the second part of my healing journey was when I was diagnosed with cancer in August 22, and like going into the first thing that like kind of fucked with me was the diagnosis itself, right? Like having a doctor tell me like, "Yep, you got cancer." It sound like how, right? Like I'm I felt I was like pretty healthy, you know, going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, um, drinking my gallon of water a day type shit. Like, yeah, I could have been better at not drinking as much or not eating fried food as much as I was or whatever. But it was like, for the most part, I was what I would consider, pretty healthy in shape person for my age, right? So when they told me that I had cancer, I was like, "What? Like, where did I fuck up at? What did I do wrong? How did I put myself in this situation?" And then the second thing that hit me was I can't I can't do my job anymore. I can't be an OS, right? Like, they're gonna take me off the ship. I gotta leave my division behind. Somebody else is gonna come in here. They're not gonna do the same. They're not gonna treat these guys how I treat these guys. They're not gonna look out for them how I look out for them. Like I'm leaving my people behind, and I still felt like I I owed them something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I had this uh, false sense of reality of like, I'll go through chemo, I'll do radiation, and then the Navy's gonna let me stay in the Navy. They're gonna put me right back on the ship that I left, and I'll just go back to that ship and do my time until it's time for me to retire, right? And then it was like, it was pretty much like, nah, man, you dumb as fuck for thinking that way. Like, you can't go back on the ship ever, you know. And I was like, okay, but like, I can still serve, right? And yeah, I was at like the limb due command because I was going through treatment, but it was like, I I got good at the job I was doing, and I developed a passion for it. But it still was like something was missing because I wasn't with my guy.
Yeah.
And it was just like trying to explain how that felt emotionally. Like the only thing I could compare it to is like you're standing on, like, think about the smallest piece of land you can think of, like a square paver, right?
Yeah.
With all around it is darkness, and then you're the only thing that's on it. And no, there's only a single beam of light on you, and everything else is dark. You're just on that little square. Like that's what it felt like, emotion. Like I wanted to be angry. I wanted to fucking cry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was just like, just set in. It was just, it was hard. But the thing that like got me, I would say, what got me through was realizing that I still had purpose, and there was still, I could still hope and serve. It just, I had to reshape what that service stuff was like. No, that's like the main reason why I started.
Yeah. 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 You have a lot to give still. Yeah.
So, from your perspective, what did you see me going through during that time? I wasn't admitting.
Yeah, I would say, when visited,
'Cause you came to see me because I thought I was about to hang up a jersey for real, for real.
yeah, like when I came to see you, I kind of like see it in your eyes, like I can't imagine, what the what that would be like to go through that, but I saw in your eyes a sense of, um, and like don't take this the wrong way, but kind of like a wounded animal, where like, um, in their eyes, they're lost, but they're putting on a brave face, but they're scared. You know what I mean? And then like
Yeah,
to see my older brother like that, like that scared the shit out of me. You know what I mean? To like be like, you know what I mean? Because like, I'm worried and all that shit, but then it's like, I mean, you're fucking worried and scared. So now I'm like, well, what the fuck? What am I supposed to do?
yeah.
Yeah,
Like how serious is this really?
yeah. And I'm pretty sure like WebMD and Google and shit got tired of me. Damn near broke the internet. I could be an oncologist now.
Yeah, sure. Between you, Julius, and MJ, y'all might be on it. Y'all could have started your own practice because yeah, MJ stayed on Google.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. I mean, it's like frustrating too sometimes when you hear like, you know, what the plan is, or the doctors are going to do this, and then like, you look it up and you're like, well, at least use four other options. So why the fuck are they doing this? Or yeah, yeah.
But I would say like if I didn't like redefine my purpose, well, yeah, that helped me with the healing process. But the most important part was like family, MJ, my wife, and like you, you like I developed like a different outlook on faith, right?
Mhm.
And by no means am I like a religious. I'm not gonna say I'm not religious, but uh, you know, I don't go to church or whatever. But I do believe in a higher power, right? So I would say during that time, uh, going through that you know, struggle season or that season of survival, when I was going through the cancer and all the crazy shit that came with that, and transitioning into my healing season, um, it was like I got closer to my sense of faith, and I think that's what helped me redefine my purpose and what be able to have the courage to speak and try to you know talk about things that some people don't necessarily like to talk about, but it's always easier to tell your story when you hear somebody else that has a similar story.
Mhm. Very true.
And also too, it's I think it's crazy how people can see our seasons more clearly than we can, and that's why for me, brotherhood matters, and that's why conversations like this matter. And I think as men, right, more of these conversations need to be had in a larger setting. I don't think like when's the last time you sat down with a close group of guy friends and said, "Hey, man, how are you feeling emotionally? Where you at emotionally? Let me check on you emotionally." You know what I'm saying? Like it's not something that we do,
Yeah.
and I feel like we should.
Agreed.
And we're gonna do a quick root check, right? And I want everybody to ask themselves honestly, what season am I really in right now? And what season would you say you're in today?
I would say I'm in a healing season. It's not easy, but yeah, I'm in a healing season.
I would say whatever season you listening are in, name it, because naming it is the first step. And when you own it, it's easier to hold yourself accountable and move with the intent to do that piece. Because I feel like you can actually say accountability could also be a season all on its own, right? And it's the season that we try to. I feel like it's the season that we all try to skip. But you have to remember, accountability is a punishment, it's clarity. And JoJo, what's a moment where you had to hold yourself accountable, not for anybody else, but for yourself?
Yeah, I would say, my mental health, um, where like I went through a period of a really dark time. Um, got put on some different therapy, different therapists, and I was kind of like, yeah, I know I should be doing certain things and whatever, but I went through a period of like where I was like lying to. I had like two therapists. I had like a specialist in PTSD, complex trauma, and then like a regular therapist, lying to them both. Uh, you know, making up lies so I could skip those sessions. Uh, but I wanted to be, you know, uh, show up better in my relationships are important to me.
Yeah,
With my son, my daughter, my wife. And one day I was just like sitting on the couch, and there was like nobody around me, and I realized like, dude, like I'm being an asshole. Like I put myself on this journey. I want to be better, but like I'm really not even like doing the work. You know what I mean? Just showing up to therapy is like part of it, but I'm not doing anything that these people are telling me I should be doing to try to like heal, um, and things like that. So um, it was really hard for me to like sit with that and be like, oh, like I'm still in the same spot. Like 3 months of therapy hasn't done shit for me because I haven't worked at
yeah,
anything, and that was like a hard pill for
yeah,
me to swallow because I was under I kind of like lied to myself because I was very skeptical about uh, going to therapy and going down that path. I kind of lied to myself and said, oh, if I go to like a couple of sessions, I'm going to be cured. I'm going to be able to not be on edge all the time, and I'm going to be able to communicate, be vulnerable, and be a better person. Uh, Not realizing like there's some self work you got to do.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's real, and that is what accountability is. Facing that truth privately before life exposes you publicly. You know what I'm
100%.
saying? And I think like on top of holding yourself accountable, you have to do that follow through. Like you have to follow through. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, man, you're fucking up." Like you need to lighten up, get your shit together. But then it's like actually following through with that after you recognize, hey, I need to be more accountable. Okay, now you got to follow through. Now you actually have to take that to get your shit together. And what does that really look like? And,
Yeah, yeah, like own it.
yeah,
Yeah,
because for being honest, right, growth is uncomfortable. Growth can be lonely, and growth costs us something. And growth forces us to evolve past the version of ourselves that we were comfortable with. And, talk about a time where growth required you to leave something, someone behind.
Yeah. So, one thing that comes to mind is um, a couple of points in my law enforcement career um, where I had to make decisions, really tough decisions to let some people go. When I made that transition from being like frontline staff to part of the command staff and hiring, firing people, um, making those decisions, really tough. But then as I changed the department and organization, I kind of realized I plateaued, and
Yeah,
and I was kind of just in a holding pattern. And it was and I knew where I needed to go within the organization to continue my own growth and achieve the things I want to achieve. And one would think, oh yeah, you could be selfish and just go, it'd be fine. It was a very difficult decision because it felt like I was leaving a lot of good people behind um,
yeah,
for my own personal growth. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
so I actually sat with it for a couple of months, um, with like, man, I'm really gonna leave all these people behind, and this career that I've had in law enforcement for like a long time. I was a military um, eh, police officer in the Navy, and then civilian side, and then I'm totally changing careers. Um, you know, outside of law enforcement. So uh, that was difficult, but I mean, I'm in a great place now, and I love it, and I still have those connections, but uh, that was a really difficult time. Talk about like, you know, losing a purpose or being unsure, and it's like a whole
yeah,
new territory. Um, but it was definitely like I still like think about it and get like nervous butterflies, and I've already been through it. But um, yeah,
yeah. Because you were like, you're stepping out of your comfort zone. You took a chance on yourself and your own ability, knowing like, hey, I could go do this job, right? Like, yes, I'm good at being a law enforcement officer. I'm good at this side of the house. I've proven that because of how I've advanced and where you were sitting at. But then it's like you start to look around you and say, but I think I can do more and be better at something else. So let me take a chance, right?
yeah,
And um, like I, I don't know, like it is a scary feeling to do that because you're essentially betting on yourself. Like you're putting all your eggs in, that metaphorical basket to say, you know, I'm gonna make this shit shake. And that pressure of like, going back to what we said, right? Like one of your silent wounds is your self esteem. So trying to battle that inner voice in your head telling you, oh, you're gonna fuck this up, you're gonna fuck this up.
yeah,
Just stay where you're at. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And you shut that voice up, right? And then you did it. Took the leap. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Look where you are now. And everything worked out for the better, right? Like you have a better work life balance. You get to be with the wife and kids more, and do more of the dad duties. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So just imagine if you would have listened to the voice that was telling you don't do it, you're not good enough, where you would be at. Probably fucking miserable. Right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was a it was like a loss, or felt like I was grieving a chapter in my life, but like opened up a whole new chapter. That's um, a whole nother journey. More, its own excitement, its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I would say your story of your growth season, right, is to me is very similar to transitioning out of the military. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I left the amount of people that I lost leaving the Navy. It doesn't even equate, like, it doesn't add up to the number of people that I'd stop talking to whenever I would transfer from one command. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like going from one duty station to the next duty station. It's like it's bound to happen, right? Like you're gonna lose contact. That person's gonna transfer somewhere, so they don't have the same email anymore, or whatever it may be, right? Like maybe they got stationed overseas, so you can't necessarily just text them or call them because they phone don't work like that, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It was like retiring from the Navy when all the people that I was talking to are still here in the same fucking place that I live in, right? It went from talking to some of these people every day to, like, let's say when I first got out, maybe like the first 3 months, it was like, okay, cool, like we still talking or whatever. 6 months, then I would only get a phone call because they needed something, right? Or they had like a work related question. Hey, and they would still call me, and it wasn't Tim or whatever. It was still, hey, Oswald, or hey, Bowens. They trying to do this shit on the ship. Tell me if that makes sense, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I've been out for a year. It's like the only people that talk to me that are like still in the Navy is like 3, maybe 4 people.
Yeah.
Out of like the 20, 30 people that I used to communicate with almost on a, I would say in a semi-regular basis. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And a lot of times it wasn't even about Navy shit. It was like legit about like, hey, how's your day going? How you doing? They would call, hey, how the boys? How's MJ? All right, bet. I'm just trying to check on you. And then it's like nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's just that growing on to, leaving the Navy, retiring from the Navy, and then finding my way in the civilian world, even though I'm fully retired. I'll probably never get a real job ever again in my life. But it's like, I think that also has a lot to do with it too, right? And that's something that I feel like a lot of vets don't talk about is when you do leave the service, whether you're separating or you're retiring, right? I think the only difference between someone who separates and someone who retires is your sense of purpose, right? Like I actually talked about this with my therapist last week. Is when you retire, you're leaving your sense of purpose. Because I told him, I was like, so one thing that I've been struggling with lately is like how much I miss the Navy. Like I knew I was gonna miss some part of being in the service because I spent 20 plus years in the motherfucking Navy. So I feel like it's only natural for me to miss some portion of that. I was like, but it's not even like I don't miss the people per se, right? Like I miss doing my job. I miss being an OS. I miss going on the ship, getting underway, being on the fucking water, being underneath the blue light, fucking sitting at a console, pushing buttons. Like that's the shit I miss. Because to me, like the people are like are transitional.
Yeah. They
You
come.
know what
They
I'm saying?
come and
Like,
go. Right.
right?
Yeah.
And you meet some really cool people, and you meet some not so really cool people, or whatever. the people you meet don't change for me, it didn't change my love of being an OS. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
my love of being in the Navy doing my fucking job, right? But now that I don't have that, it's like, that's what I struggle with. Like, I have dreams about being on a ship doing OS shit. Like,
Yeah.
that's what, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got past the night terrors and dreaming that I was getting blown up again and shit like that. But now it's like my dreams are like, I'm back on the ship, leading a division, getting ready to go on deployment or whatever the fuck. And it's because that's what I miss. And trying to explain that to somebody is like, I feel like they look at you like you're crazy. But then, like, the people that separate, you know, that get out at like 10 years or 5 years, I think they miss the people and the bond that they shared with those people versus the purpose of the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you on that. Like for me, like being a reservist, right? But I separated after 13 years. I miss like the deployments of like to be able to do all the shit that you're trained to do. Um,
Mhm.
and then like seeing like the people like as a reservist, like especially a lot of my deployments, like um, being out of Phoenix, like all of our units were like parsed between like Arizona and California. So then when we all get together, it's like some of these people don't have the same calls as you. It's like this mix of shit, from the reserve community, and then you go do the training, and then like me being a leader, like refining that and bringing everybody together to go be successful in mission, and then like come back. Like it's so um yeah, like the bonds you make and like just seeing like people grow and like just do that job. Um, yeah, it's amazing. Uh, that's what I miss. Like being in the shit, doing what I was trained to do. Um,
Yeah.
and then laughing, just like laughing at these fucking reservists too. That um, some of these people you just you meet all different types of walk of life. Some of the coolest and craziest people from across United States.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
And I would say to close this topic out, right, is that growth is how we break generational cycles, and growth is also how we as men become better fathers, husbands, and just a better person overall. And next, I want to talk about healing, and with that, you have to know that healing isn't a destination; it's a lifestyle. And sometimes healing is apologizing, resting, communicating, setting boundaries. I feel like that's a big one. Breaking habits, and like sitting with yourself. That's one thing I started doing more recently, uh, largely in part because I be at home by myself when everybody be at work and shit. But like sometimes, like I'll go for a drive, and then like I'll go somewhere and I'll sit on the bench, and like I'll just sit there in silence, and just you know, kind of like almost like meditate. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then I don't know. It's like it helps me get centered. Or another thing, like it makes you sound like be like a nerd, but I feel like sitting with yourself can also be like you doing something that like takes your focus away from um, other shit, right? Like to help you, like I don't want to say center your mind, but like calm your mind down, right? Because I feel like a lot of men are overthinkers and they analyze everything, and everything's always like you're running a million different scenarios in your head about what I have to do today, tomorrow, next year, 6 months from now, type shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like never ending. Uh, but like finding something to quiet the storm. But one thing I like, two of the biggest things I like to do is go shooting because I feel like I'm at peace. Because it's like I have to focus on one thing. I can't be thinking about, like, oh shit, I gotta buy a whole new football pad. Levi's trombone is fucked up. And blah blah blah. Like, how am I doing it? No, I just go in there. As soon as I put them earphones on, everything gets quiet, and I'm like locked in. I'm in the zone. And then the other one is doing Legos.
Mm.
So I got into those like the big ass Lego sets. The ones
Yeah.
that got like 40,000 pieces and shit like that.
Yeah.
So like sitting down and doing that, kind of like, to me, it's like for me, in my opinion, like a form of meditation.
Yeah. Very therapeutic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that being said, the question I have for you, young sir, is what does healing look like for you today? Not back then, but like right now, to now. That's some of it.
Yeah. Today, being vulnerable, um, being more vulnerable, with my wife, the person I choose to, live my life with, have this experience with, has been very, I'm not a very vulnerable person. You know what I mean? Like I'm very like, y- you know, uh, to myself, closed off. But being able to like communicate, um, be vulnerable, and and have like a soft side, um, has been, you know, uh, I think been peaceful for me. Where, um, I've always strived to kind of like have my home as like a sanctuary where there's no riffraff or stress from like work or the outside world or anything. But like, I mean, I've had the image of that, but honestly haven't had that until like I really pushed myself to be more vulnerable and
Yeah.
just like a softer side that I can share with my partner, um and it kind of let those walls down and not be so um hyper vigilant and like closed off and ready to like tackle the next challenge. Yeah, I've been finding a lot of peace in that. So it's like, like that's like breaking habits. I think one of the
Mm-hmm.
hardest thing to do, especially like coming from like a military law enforcement background, it's like, very structured habit. Nobody's talking about feelings. Nobody, um, and then, having leadership positions in law enforcement, it's like, you gotta be hard all the time. You know what I mean? Like you're not,
Yeah.
you're not the one to waver and stuff. Like you're checking on other people. So, to kind of build my own sanctuary for myself and breaking some of these habits where that works in, when we're at battle or when you're in the workplace, but it doesn't work in an intimate setting like your home. So
Right.
be able to break that habit and that mold, uh, has been bringing me a lot of peace. Now, I would say, like it's been very hard, very challenging to kind of get out of that, some of these mindsets and things, and then really looking at it holistically is like, well, how is this showing up in my relationship with my daughter? How is this showing up in my relationship with my son? Not only for myself, but like you said earlier, to kind of break those generational habits and make creating a safe space so our the next generation can thrive without
Yeah.
without these kind of like uh, insecurities or struggles. So that it's healing season is not easy. I think that's something that at least for me, uh, thought I could just put a band-aid on it, do some therapy,
Yeah.
drink less alcohol, and I'll communicate, I'll be more accountable. But no, it's like it's very intentional. So that's what I've been doing to actually um, see the benefits of healing, being very intentional.
I like that. I think for me, it's been stepping out of my comfort zone more. So every Tuesday, I do this like peer-to-peer group session, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I've always avoided it, right? Even when I was in the Navy, they tried to get me to go like group. I tried to avoid it, or I did avoid it, like it was a fucking black plague, right?
Yeah.
But like, so I would say right there, like that was a sign of my growth. Was I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it, right? Because I've grown to realize that the more people you come in contact, the more lessons you'll learn,
Mm-hmm.
right? And even though a lot of the like vets that everybody's like story is kind of the same, right? Like I was walking around with this anger. I was always pissed off. Self-medicating. I was too prideful to do any of the shit. I didn't think I needed help, or I didn't think anything was wrong with me. Uh, I was just gonna figure it out on my own. It was like, okay, yeah, I felt the same fucking way, right?
Yeah.
But then like listening to, because nobody in there is the same age, right?
Yeah.
And not everybody was in the same service or served at the same time. So like just listening to different perspectives, because like how they run it is the the leader, Mr. Jimmy, he reads a passage to make you think, and then we do like a round robin. You check in, and then you answer the question that you asked, how it relates to your journey, right? And like just hearing people's perspective on life and listening to how they have grown and are still growing, and like I get a lot of it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's beneficial to me, and it's one of those things where like when after I did like the second or third session, I was like, why did I wait so long? Right? Like I probably could have been further in my journey of healing and growing if I would have did this a while ago instead of letting pride get in the way. So, but I will say this, right? Healing doesn't mean that your wound never existed, and healing means the wound will no longer grow, right? And I just want to say, men carry a lot more than we like to say, and a lot of the time more than anyone knows. And conversations like this, real ones, that are like these are the ones that help change it. Is there anything that you would like to say to the men out there before we close this thing up?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, anybody's out there struggling, or if you're not struggling or you have struggled, I mean, connect, share your story. Definitely helps others. I appreciate what you're doing here, bro. So yeah, just don't be afraid to make connections and have conversations.
Agreed. And I would just like to say this, it's like a mantra. Write this shit down and you and Quentin stay together. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to heal. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to find peace. Every season has a purpose, and every season teaches you. And your next season can be better than your last, but only if you face the truth of where you really are. Thank you, JoJo. I really appreciate you being here more than you'll ever know. And to everyone else listening, take care of yourself, and remember, no matter what you're going through or the challenges you're facing, your roots are stronger than you think. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.